Krabat 2008. Synopsis. Krabat is a German film directed by Marco Kreutzbahner. It is based on a novel of the same name written by Ottfried Preußler, which in turn originates from a traditional Sorbian legend. Krabat is an apprentice at a mill run by an evil black magician. While in the mornings the students grind corn, at night the master turns them into crows and then teaches them powerful magic spells that allow them to move things, turn into animals, and even leave their bodies. On nights of the new moon, an even more evil and powerful person arrives with a cart full of grain to be ground. While outside the mill, life goes on as normal. In the mill, each year equals 3 years. After each year, one of the students must die, and another takes his place. While Krabat is initially amazed by the master's powers and wants to be as powerful as him, he eventually realizes that he is a slave living captive in the mill. Only the love of a girl can free him and all the other students, but if that ever happens, everything will be destroyed, and with it, all the evil powers will disappear forever. Plot. The film begins with a narrator telling us about the 30 Years' War, which Germany was involved in at the time. We then see the 3 poor children in their 3 wise men costumes, which they wore as beggars. They are climbing a huge mountain and have slept in an empty shed that stood there, lonely and forgotten in the mountains. We then hear about Krabat's dreams, and the next day he finally leaves the group, walking a much longer path through the mountains until he finally reaches the old mill, where he is greeted by the old miller, who gives a truly friendly impression, like an uncle, perhaps. He accepts the apprenticeship at the factory and immediately goes to bed. Krabat meets up with the other 11 apprentices that evening. He has enormous difficulty with the activities, while the others accomplish everything quite easily. You can see how Krabat struggles with the tasks while his other companions find it very easy. It's as if they had super strength. All of this made Krabat feel self-conscious, but at the same time, he was excited to be like them one day, and for that reason, he couldn't leave. Then comes Easter night, where Krabat and Tonda go to Baumelstad to spend the night, and here come the first changes. In the film, Tonda takes Krabat and leaves his body with him, so they can go to Schwarzköln, where they meet Kantorka and also Tonda's girlfriend. Although Tonda warns Krabat not to touch anyone, Krabat catches Kantorka, and there is some kind of connection between them. Then Tonda begins to talk to his girlfriend, who can't see him, but she can hear him. Tonda warns Krabat to leave, as this is his last chance, but Krabat doesn't want to. Then Tonda warns Krabat that the master must never know his girlfriend's name, ever. In the film, the black magic lessons are initially reduced to stick fights. The teacher gives each boy a stick with which they can defend themselves. Over the next few months, you'll see the boys practicing with the sticks. The next thing that happens is that the soldiers head for Schwarzköln. Because the miller fears that, after taking Schwarzköln in, the soldiers would also show up at his door, he sends some of his students to protect Schwarzköln. Then those few boys arrive there and protect the town. At first, they seem at a disadvantage, but eventually, Krabat manages to enhance his sticks with magical power, and soon those knights are defeated in a battle where the mill knights seem to be superior in strength. But Tonda makes a mistake. In the hubbub, he reveals his girlfriend's name, and now the master knows, so the consequences will come. The Ursula is found dead in the stream. Krabat mistakenly blames Lishko, another apprentice. Tonda goes into seclusion and anticipates the end of the year and its eventual fate. He will be the chosen one. Krabat's first Sylvester, New Year's Eve, brings to light the true horror of the mill. Each Sylvester, one of the boys, must be sacrificed so that the master remains young. And so, at midnight, Tonda, Krabat's best friend, is brutally murdered. When Krabat tries to help him, the other boys stop him and tell him, "There's nothing we can do." Before dying, Tonda tells Krabat that there is another boy at the mill whom Krabat can trust. He also tells Krabat to take 2 sacks of flour back to the village. We see how Tonda one day goes to dig a grave. Krabat questions him, but Tonda just digs. It is finally revealed that everyone is responsible for digging their own grave. Krabat is distraught over Tonda's death, but does as he is told. While carrying the sacks of flour to a tree near the village, Krabat reunites with the girl he met while protecting the village. He is in love, but won't let the girl tell him her name, fearing for her life. Instead, he calls her Kantorka, which means, choir leader. During the Easter ritual, he goes to the village to meet her, this time along with a boy named Juro, who seems to have a mental disability and cannot learn the craft or perform magic properly. When Juro tells Krabat they must leave and return to the mill, Krabat insists he will stay with Kantorka. Juro then uses powerful magic to convince Krabat to return with him, revealing that he is actually very intelligent and powerful, even capable of changing the weather. Juro promises Krabat that he will help him escape from the master and tells him that his girl must ask for him in Sylvester to free him. Krabat tells Kantorka that he must do so, and she agrees and gives Krabat a lock of her hair, telling him to ask another boy to deliver it to him when the time is right. So Juro and Krabat return to the mill in the middle of the storm. Juro does not let Krabat speak when the teacher receives them. Juro argues that a storm appeared suddenly and that delayed them, so it was because of the weather and not a disrespect. The teacher examined them carefully and accepted the argument, although with some doubts from my point of view. Apparently he already knew Juro. After losing Tonda, Krabat and the others turn into crows to find the next child to replace Tonda. But it turns out that the new chosen one is one of Krabat's old friends. Upon reuniting, the new member tells Krabat that he looks different, more mature. Doubts arise within Krabat and the discomfort is evident. Now he behaves like Tonda did in the beginning with him. Krabat tries to flee, but discovers that it is impossible. You can see the master take a map and trace Krabat's route to the windmill again, while Krabat feels himself flying away, further and further through the forest. The master leads him back to the windmill. They are all tied to that windmill and to the master. They have created a bond that they can no longer break on their own. So, sad and frustrated, and knowing that the master is superior to them, he still wants to fight the master, being disobedient and learning from Juro how to fight the master, who turns out to be an incredibly great magician. Breaking the master's power can only be achieved through the love of Kantorka, which he has to offer to Master Krabat. But in the end, Krabat refuses to call Kantorka for fear of hurting him and instead prepares for his death. In the film, it is Lishko, the former evil spy of the master, who saves everyone by stealing Krabat's lock of hair and calling Kantorka. This is the sign of trust for any envoy who comes to Kantorka with messages from Krabat. Lishko does all this behind Krabat's back, as he overheard a fight between Krabat and the master, where the master offers Krabat the chance to kill Lishko instead of Hanzo, who has taken Tonda's place as his superior officer. Krabat refuses, even though Lishko was always mean to him. The message reached Kantorka, and she presented herself at the mill and before the master. The master asked her what she was looking for there, and Kantorka replied, "A boy." The master had previously turned all his disciples into crows and had them line up at the meeting place with Kantorka. Each and every one of them stood there, flapping their wings and making crow noises, in a row above the master and Kantorka. The master tells her she has a challenge. She can take the boy she's looking for only if she can recognize him. Apparently, this is a trick the master planned for Kantorka, but she responds without hesitation that she will be able to recognize him when she sees him. Then the master introduces all his boys to her in their crow form, and that's how she has to recognize the one she's looking for. You can feel that Kantorka has fallen into the master's trap, but with a very expressive face, she doesn't back down and examines the crows one by one. You might think that one of them will make a sign, with which she could notice who was the correct one, but in reality, you can see that they are all the same. They all make the same sounds and the same movements. The master, I believe, had the ability to turn them into birds 100%. But Kantorka continues checking until the master asks her which is her choice. She nods that she is ready and points to one. The master tries to make her doubt, but she remains firm. Then all the crows transform into boys until it is the chosen one's turn. With great nervousness you watch the transformation plus the initially expressionless face of the master. You know that Kantorka has made a mistake. Krabat appears and meets with Kantorka. She chose correctly the first one. The crow she pointed to was Krabat. Everyone was filled with happiness, while the master aged. At the same time the evil entity came for someone, but this time it did not take a boy, now it took the master. Comments. The film, Krabat, 2008, has received mixed reviews. Some praise it for its dark atmosphere, cinematography, and performances, especially that of the teacher played by Christian Redl. Others criticize it for its unmotivated plot, lack of exploration of interesting themes, and disappointing ending. There are also comments about the quality of the makeup and a questionable musical choice at the end of the film. Critic 1. The story tells of a boy named Krabat, who learns the black arts from an evil sorcerer. The grim Sorbian folk tale is told here in dark and beautiful imagery. The main themes are the seduction of power, which leads to imprisonment, slave labor, and death. Only true love can save this hopeless path. Marco Kreutzpaintner and Michael Gutman have well adapted the novel into their screenplay, and Marco Kreutzpaintner directed the film with a sophisticated and enchanting style. The actors' performances are professional and brilliant. The sets, costumes, and makeup are simply top-notch, and everything is mystically underscored by the music by Annette Fox. Krabat is not at all kitschy, it's a film worth seeing. Critic 2. This, I think, is the bottom line. The movie sacrifices the original's themes and vibrant story for on-screen action. I think that shooting Krabat is a bold task, and I am glad that the team tried it. I enjoyed the movie. However, the movie falls far short of its potential, given the cast and resources devoted to the movie. The acting and the scenery, totally unlike the actual place, is great. I also liked that many dialogues were carried over straight from the book. The movie lacks a real character development and more generally a story that the viewer would care about. I think that the reason for this is insufficient screen time for Krabat's interaction with his peers and the master. Many scenes from the book are not present in the movie. Of course, not every scene can be in the movie. But the screenwriters assigned plenty of time to magic, action, and by now dated CGI. This did not add to the heart of the movie. A wasted opportunity. Some choices to deviate from the original were good, such as expanding the story around the Kantorka and Krabat, which is less than a page in the book, but most were poor. In my opinion, this is a good film, considering the audience it's aimed at, a young audience, and also considering the film's theme, which is a world where magic was still present in humanity. In fact, it marks a milestone in the film. At the end, it's decided to stop pursuing magic and let the world gradually forget all these arts. Also, the romance between a young couple, a young choir singer who falls in love with a young magic apprentice, thus having her first love, is brilliant. In the end, love turns out to be a force more powerful than magic itself. I've seen many German films, some very strange, but interesting and entertaining, so this film doesn't disappoint me in the German genre. That's all from me, goodbye.